Hey booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I am here today with a tag video. This is the Bring Browsing Back tag. It was created by Roving Reader, and I was tagged by Garrett at Poetic Artifacts. Thanks so much, Garrett. The first prompt is the magic of discovery. Share a book you found while browsing that you may not have discovered otherwise. Now, I really miss browsing books. I think I've been to our local independent bookstore 2 times since 2020, and then we've been to the used bookstore here, which is not the greatest, but I think I've been maybe 2 or 3 times again since 2020. So not a lot more online buying books than actually going to a bookstore and browsing. And I miss that because that is just such a great way to discover things that are completely off your radar. I also subscribe to, I don't know, an online company, I guess, if you will, that sends catalogs. And so I feel like that's a little bit of browsing in my life as well. Today, I'm going to show you some browsing from my own personal library. One of the books I found on my two trips to the independent bookstore since 2020 is How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. This is a really kind of a fun take on a time travel sort of book, and yeah, like it's really light. This is like when you need, like, I don't want to say fluff, but pretty close to fluff. But when you need something light to read, this is definitely a great book. And I was told, or I read somewhere, that this is supposed to be made into a film with Benedict Cumberbatch. Please let that happen. I would love to see that. So anyway, it's an interesting read, and yeah, so this is a book I would have never probably picked up or found otherwise. The second question is expanding world. Share a book that has made you view things from a different perspective or exposed you to new ideas. And that question alone, like we could have a big stack, right? of books for that. I hunted around the library for a while trying to think of a book that that exemplifies that, and I actually went with a novel. This is Martin Dressler by Stephen Millhauser. Won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, which again, I would have never discovered this author, and definitely never read this book if it hadn't been for my Pulitzer project, which in some ways it's a bit like browsing, but yeah, so Martin Dressler is about, I mean, that's the main character's name, but he builds things, yeah, that just sort of, there's just, I don't even know how to really describe this book, but there's just this element of magical realism to the book that just makes you think about space, like, and I don't mean like outer space, but I mean like space in a room even. It makes you just really like think about that differently. Like, what would that be like? He built a hotel, and you know, there's just all of these, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but there's just these incredible things, and you try to imagine what it would be like to be in a space like that. Can't imagine what their policy would be on lost and missing children. It's certainly be easy to get lost in some of the spaces that Martin Dressler creates. So anyway, this is an excellent read. I really recommend this book. Okay, question 3. Open to change. Share a book that has changed who you are as a person or altered your day-to-day habits. So sometimes it's not us browsing, right? Like sometimes people give us things. And this was a book that someone in my real life, not booktube, okay? So someone gave me this book, which in hindsight, like after reading it, I appreciate it, but it is a bit funny. It's a very strange thing to give to another person. But that is The Procrastinator's Handbook, Mastering the Art of Doing It Now by Rita Emmett. And I got this book a long time ago. I was, like I said, it was a little startling to have someone give me this book. Especially because I didn't really think of myself as a procrastinator at the time. And it did really help me to change some things in my life. And I need to reread this book actually. It's probably time. Maybe next year even I will read this. But like things like my high priority TBR, I think originate from this, right? Like these are the things I really want to get to. These are the things I've like a goal to like read the books that are, you know, the oldest things on your TBR. Okay, like yeah. So there are definitely other things from this book at the time that I read it that I was able to do, and I've had certain stretches of life like 1 year I had a goal to finish all of my unfinished cross stitch projects. I think there were 3 or 4 of them. And I did it. But it was really probably only because of a book like this, sort of sending me off in the right direction. So it's really, I think one of the things that I took away from this book so much is that the things we put off, like, we would probably be so much happier if we just took care of them right, as you know, as soon as we recognize that we need to do that. Yeah, so I mean this is not a book that I browsed for, but yeah, it's a book that was sort of given to me, and it turned out to be a good thing. The next question I think is to browse. So question 4, browse a bookstore, library, or a friend's shelves. Okay, so I would love to browse a bookstore. The library's closed today, and I don't really know how filming would go there, or a friend's shelves. So I'm gonna browse my own personal library, which sounds a bit weird. I realize. But one of the great things about being married to a reader is that they have a lot of books that I wouldn't ever find otherwise, or I'm not familiar with. So we will go to that now. This is the biggest bookcase in our library, and it's also the start of fiction. One of the things we did was we put, well, and when I say we, I don't really mean, I'm not in charge of organizing the library. I did ask Jason what would happen if he came home one day and I had organized our books by color. Very funny. Anyway, so Jason put our mass market paperback books up here. There are some things that, these are mostly Jason's. We've got some Stephen King. Oh goodness, yeah, there's some John le Carre. Actually, there's quite a few John le Carre. I probably should read some of those. One of them, one of the books up there is Dune. So I did see the movie. No idea how close that is to the book, but I have thought about reading this. I'm not really sure. Like, it definitely seems outside my wheelhouse, but yeah, it was interesting, like before the movie came out, like how much people were talking about it. But it's also, I don't know, the type font is pretty small for a little mass market paperback. But still, it's a book that if I didn't have access to it, I'm sure I wouldn't pick up. But because it's here in our house, like, well, maybe someday, I don't know. Let's see. And then behind this picture, we've got well, we start with Margaret Atwood, which I love, The Blind Assassin. And I've read The Handmaid's Tale, but the other book we have by her is Cat's Eye, which I think that cover is really cool. So that might be fun. The other thing I find browsing our own bookshelves is that sometimes there are books that are mine, like I purchased them and I've forgotten about them. So that is another thing. So next shelf, let's see here. Andrea Barrett, yeah. So this would be a great winter read. Voyage of the Narwhal. I read this. Jason bought this for me before we were married. Did he even write? Oh yeah, he gave it to me in 2003, and I read this when I had my wisdom teeth taken out. So I was out sick for a whole week, and yeah, and this is what I read, so I was kind of associate that. But she's a really great author, and we do have some other things by her that I can't remember, at least, if I've read. Servants of the Map. And here's another one. God, part of me feels like I can't remember if I've read this one or not. I think this is a short story. Yeah, short story collection that won the National Book Award. So anyway, so that's cool. Let's see, what else? Peter Pan. Let me go into Sebastian Barry. This is a book Jason, it's the first book in a trilogy that Jason really loves. This is Dark Eden by Chris Beckett. Yeah, and again, not a book I probably would normally read, but I have it, so I have the opportunity to. Oh, and then this is another one of Jason's books. We have a little Viking ship in front of it, but this is The Long Ships by Franz G. Bengtsson. I don't know, I'm saying that wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is about the Vikings. Yeah, look at that cover. I love these editions so much too. So again, like, it isn't necessarily something that I might normally read, but I have it here, and so I don't know, if I watch a Viking movie and I'm suddenly really like, I don't know, this, and it's also a pretty big book too. It's a bit chunky, but yeah, so I'm curious about this one. I have to have our little ship in front of it. Some Ronan Bennett, Wendell Berry, James Blish. Let's see. Oh, Joseph Boyden. He's another author that I'm really curious about. I believe he's a Canadian author. Yeah, I feel pretty sure about that. But Through Black Spruce. Doesn't this look like, I don't know, like a good winter? It just looks cold. Yeah. But I'm curious about him as an author because we have a couple of his books, and but that one in particular. And then the next shelf, we have Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. Those are the only Bronte books we have. So hopefully in the future we will add to that. But I mean, as it is, there's no room for anything right now anyway. So let's see what else is down here. As Byatt. So this is a book Jason really, really wants me to read. And he even talked to me about maybe us reading it together, doing our own buddy read, because we own the Folio Society edition of this book, and he knows, like, I won't read those because I'm gonna be honest, like, I have damaged some of our books by eating or drinking a beverage while reading. And plus, like, yeah, so the Folio Society edition, super expensive, and it's huge. It's just cumbersome. I would never be able to read it in bed. So this is one of the books we own 2 of, but it's really nice because it's just this nice paperback edition of it. It's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I do love the movie. I'd be curious to see what reading the book is like. Let's see. Oh, I can have a right place. And then we get into one of Jason's favorite authors, who is Peter Carey. We own, how many books do we own by Peter Carey? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We own 14 books by Peter Carey. I have read 1 of them. This is the kind of book you read when you're gonna marry. When you're gonna marry someone and they have, you know, they wrote their master's thesis about it, that sort of thing. So I wasn't a huge fan of Oscar and Lucinda, but Peter Carey, like, he seems to write about really different things. And yeah, so the books aren't all the same. The one I'm right now the most curious to read is this one, Jack Maggs. This is a retelling of Great Expectations. And I think, maybe I'm wrong. I thought this one was signed. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. So that's cool. But since I just read Great Expectations, I am definitely more keen to read this. And again, like, so yeah, would I personally, you know, if this were just my library, would I have 14 copies of any author? I don't know. It seems unlikely, but if only Jane Austen had written more. So anyway, so there's a little bit of browsing for you guys. Question 5, tag some people. Now, if I tag you and you've already done this tag, I am super sorry. And I apologize. And if you want to do this tag and no one's tagged you, you should just go for it, okay? So the first person I'd like to tag is Marilyn Maya Mendoza. Marilyn is really close, you guys, to reaching 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't visited her channel, please check it out and consider subscribing. It would be just such a wonderful thing to see her reach 1,000 subscribers. The next person I'd like to tag is My Bookshelf with Tammy Powley. And then Sue Jackson. I'd like to tag Read by Fred and Read Becca. So let me know what you think about browsing. I know I sure miss it a lot. I used to get to browse books so much more than I do now. But yeah, let me know what you think about the books I've mentioned, or how you feel about browsing, especially if you don't have a channel. I love hearing from people in the comments section. So please feel free to chat with me down there. If you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can always leave an emoji, or you can give this video a thumbs up as a way just to say hello. I really do appreciate it. Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll be back with another bookish video soon. Bye.